J-Lo and Affleck, Return of the Narcissists. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Well, looky here. What do we have? Yes, it's none other than narcissist Jennifer Lopez, aka J-Lo, and Ben Affleck, narcissist, aka Bell End. The pair of them, narcissists, if you'd like to understand why, see my parts passim for a detailed analysis of the two of them, and thereafter repeated examples of their narcissism in action. You will recall that the two of them divorced, that there was a disengagement, and thereafter it looked that Ben Affleck was hoovering hard his former intimate partner, primary source and mother of his children, Jennifer Garner. But we have an instance of the two narcissists coming together as reported by Lydia Spencer Elliott in the Independent newspaper. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have reunited publicly for the first time since their divorce on the red carpet for the premiere of Kiss of the Spider Woman. Ha! Rather apt. And as you can see in the thumbnail, I'm not sure whether the dress that J-Lo was wearing was meant to demonstrate a number of extra legs with those weird black things that are poking from it, but there we are. The on-the-floor hitmaker, age 56, and the Goodwill Hunting star, age 53, filed for divorce in August 2024, with Lopez calling the split, which was finalised in January, the best thing that had ever happened to me. Smearing, and, of course, devaluing Ben Affleck by suggesting that ending the relationship was hugely good for her. Nevertheless, Lopez and Affleck looked surprisingly cordial as they celebrated Bill Condon's remake of the 1976 novel Kiss of the Spider Woman, in which Lopez stars as the titular character. "She's amazing in the movie," said Affleck, whose production company Artist Equity is one of the producers behind the film, gushing about his ex-wife in an interview with Extra. "I just can't wait for you, the audience, to see the movie. I'm as proud of this movie as any that I've ever been involved with. I'm really excited to be here tonight," he said. Affleck also praised Lopez's work ethic, saying, "Early on in Jennifer's involvement in this, she was just going to give it her all, and she did." He continued, "She worked enormously hard. You get to see all of her many gifts." Well, she gets her knockers out, does she? "She's somebody who grew up watching classical musicals." Condon's Kiss of the Spider Woman is set in 1981 during Argentina's Dirty War and follows prisoner Luis Molina, who fantasizes about sharing a cell with actor Ingrid Luna, played by Lopez. The director has previously made musicals including Chicago and Dreamgirls. In one take, "I was like, fuck me, I better get it right then," Lopez said of the challenge. Classy. Lopez and Affleck's reunion comes after Lopez explained that she learned so much from the split that she now sees it as one of the most positive experiences of her life in September. Revision of history. "Because it changed me. It helped me grow in a way that I needed to grow," the actor who was working on Kiss of the Spider Woman while her marriage to Affleck was coming to an end explained. Thanks for that. Self-absorption. "It was a really tough time. Every moment on set. Every moment I was doing this role. I was so happy. And then it was like back home. It was not great. And it was just like, how do I work inside of this?" Lopez and Affleck had previously been engaged in 2002 after a whirlwind romance. They rekindled their relationship in July 2021 after almost 20 years apart, and married in a Las Vegas wedding a year later. So there they are. The two who had divorced from one another, seen together, chatting away. And the short video excerpt shows that Affleck is nattering away to Lopez in a rather animated fashion. So what's going on here? Well, it is the inevitable compartmentalization of two narcissists, whereby, when they meet one another, their narcissism dictates that for the purposes of facade management, that it's important to be seen to be cordial to one another. Now, it is the case that other people who are not narcissists and who have divorced and bump into one another are cordial also. That's not because there's any facade management. That's simply the case because they recognise through their emotional empathy that it's an appropriate way to conduct themselves with one another. There are, of course, non-narcissists whereby they might not want to speak to one another because of what might have occurred in relation to the breakdown of the marriage. Here, remember, you're dealing with two narcissists, and they are each dealing with another person who happens to be a narcissist. That means that their activity is governed by the pursuit of the prime aims. They're also being seen in public, and they both operate in relation to maintaining a facade. So, it would not have done, for example, if Affleck had suddenly grabbed Lopez around the throat and yelled, "You fucking whore," as she slapped him and started to try and gouge his eyes out. That would, of course, damage the facade and would result to a loss of control of all of the people that were there. The fact is, they don't actually like one another. Their narcissism just causes them to present that picture. And Affleck engages in some flattery, whereby he praises her work ethic. He does so because it allows him to assert control over her by praising her. It allows him to look like a decent human being by basically saying, hey, notwithstanding the fact that we divorced, I still have respect for her. It's all generated as a means to make himself look good through the facade management so that he is able to assert control over the audience and other individuals that are viewing this interaction. When the two of them speak to one another, they're both asserting control over the other, but in a benign way. They're both drawing fuel from one another, and it's pretty potent fuel as well, as they're both former intimate partner primary sources in one another's fuel matrices. Accordingly, it's a lovely, delicious dollop of proximate fuel. In fact, the fuel that they're receiving is pretty special. It's a large amount because they're talking to one another. This means that the words, the tone, the expressions, the body language, the look in their eyes, all of it amounts to a large amount of fuel because of the proximate involvement. The frequency isn't for too long, it's only for a number of minutes that they talk to one another, but in that time, they're fueling one another jolly well. And it's of the highest potency that it can be, because they're both former intimate partner primary sources, which is the top of the tree when it comes to the potency of fuel. If you'd like to understand more about fuel, its potency, its frequency, the amounts, the hierarchy, what it does, please do read my excellent book, Fuel, available on Amazon and also in the Knowledge Vault, link in the video description. But with these two narcissists, they in effect hoover one another as they come together as a consequence of a mutual interest through the film. Their narcissism dictates that it would not be appropriate for them to start slugging away at one another. Facade management prevails. Therefore, they assert control over one another in a benign way, draw fuel from one another, and maintain the facade a residual benefit to the watching world. It's also reported on, which provides them with additional fuel from tertiary sources. And in the circumstances, it's a win-win for both of them. The interaction is relatively brief, but it serves a purpose to show, hey, we don't resent one another. Away from one another, they may well have smeared the individual to anybody who would listen, but in the circumstances of their interaction to one another, it's all smiles and getting along together, because that's what the narcissism dictates. It's not a natural like for one another, it's manufactured, because that's what the narcissism demands. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.